Alright, so we're testing an all-new travel gimbal today. This right here is the Feiyuh-Tech Scorp Mini 2. Let's get right into it. Hey everyone, welcome back. My name is Desmond, and I make videos about tech and travel gear. And this, again, is probably one of my favorite types of gear to test. It's a travel gimbal. If you've seen my channel before, you know that I do a lot of traveling, especially when I'm testing all the different tech, bags, and gear that I make reviews about. And having a handheld, compact gimbal that can handle my normal setup is important. So this interesting gimbal right here, this is the Feiyuh-Tech Scorp Mini 2. As you can see, it's a pretty interesting shape, and this handle right here, this integrated handle, is what makes it a Scorp or scorpion-like gimbal. And in today's video, we're going to talk all about the build quality, design, setup, and then features and functionality of the Scorp Mini 2 and why I enjoy it as a travel gimbal. One thing you may not notice about this gimbal right off the bat is it actually has a built-in AI module right here, which lets you set up smart tracking. And that's definitely one of the coolest features available on this gimbal. And let's get right into it. So first of all, let's just talk about the gimbal itself. Again, I've got it on. It's currently balancing a A7R5 with a 24mm G Master Mark II. This is probably the heaviest payload I would put on this gimbal. Already I can tell that it's struggling just a bit, even during the balancing phase. And one thing you will notice is the eye cup right here does make contact with the gimbal arm. I'm sure I can optimize this, but I would recommend using a smaller camera setup. I have a ZV-E1, I have an FX3, even that just doesn't have this piece right here, and that'll make all the difference for a big setup. But for the purpose of this video, I just want to put my heaviest camera on here and see how it does. So like I said, walking through the shape, this integrated handle here is why we call it the Scorp, and the Scorp Mini is a smaller version of the gimbal in their lineup. And I actually really like the compact size here. I have it in white. Hopefully it lets you see the shape and the design a little bit better, but you've got the integrated handle, which lets you do the slingshot or briefcase mode. You've got a standard handle here with a texturized grip. This is all made out of a high quality hard plastic. This is a rubberized grip here. We've obviously got a trigger. If I press 3 times, it spins the camera into selfie mode. Not a fantastic way to hold it. I would use this. Triple click again, and you're back into standard mode. What you can see here is the included tripod, which I really like because the gimbal is relatively small. You've got a lot of weight up here. You want these longer legs to help balance it out. And even with the tripod extended, this still feels like a very small setup. If there are any of you out there that have used gimbals in the past, you know over the last few years, they've just shrunk so much. It's so insane how much power there is in a tiny little gimbal like this. A couple of years ago, I would not be able to house a setup this large on a gimbal this small. And again, I think this is just great advancement for all gimbal users regardless of brand. Everything is just getting smaller and more powerful, and with AI, more intelligent. So as we make our way around, nothing special. It is a gimbal. It's designed to mount and stabilize your camera setup. The thing that I will say that's impressive is, yes, this is a pretty heavy setup. The A7R5 and the 24mm G Master, it is not light. It, again, was a little bit troublesome when balancing, but once I calibrated the motors, everything is smooth. So I think right out of the box, it is just not meant to handle something so heavy, but do a quick calibration after you set it up, and everything has been smooth running so far. No problems, no jitters, no sounds or anything crazy in the motors themselves. They can handle this weight. So if we make our way around, we've got some buttons here. We have an instant button here for FPV mode. We've got a knob here that lets us adjust different settings, but overall features pretty standard for a gimbal. We've got a number of buttons. We've got our power button here. We've got a knob to adjust tilt, roll, and other elements of this gimbal. We've also got an FPV button here to automatically launch that into FPV mode. What I liked about this too is these locks for the gimbal's arms themselves are bigger and easier to click than your standard locks in some of the other gimbals I've tested in the past. So I actually really like that. It's just easy to click this thing into place. And then of course we have this slingshot or briefcase handle built right into it. You've got a nice little LCD screen that's a bit small for my taste, but what you can do is it is touchscreen. You can go through, you can adjust the motors, you can adjust the speed of everything, you can choose the modes, you can choose the different scenarios as well. So time lapse, automatic rotation, panorama, all of that is built into this gimbal. That comes pretty standard with all gimbals, so that's the nice thing, is everything you would expect from a high-end gimbal you're going to get in this in terms of functionality. Time lapse, panoramas, etc., FPV modes, sport modes, anything that you're going to want, with the addition of the integrated briefcase handle as well as the AI module. So now that we've covered some of the basics, let's start to talk about the AI module. Before I hop in there, we've obviously got some ports, USB-C for both of these. You can connect this to your camera and you can also charge. You've got a USB-C port on the bottom here as well, which is great. This thing has a lot of ways for you to charge and connect it to your camera. This thing also works with Bluetooth. But let's get to the most important part, and that is the built-in AI module. I use a Hohem MT2, which has a detachable AI module. I don't know why it's detachable, it's not that useful, and I think the Scorp Mini 2 has kind of solved for that. It's integrated directly into the gimbal itself. And again, I think if you've used a AI-powered gimbal before, here we've got my camera. I'm just going to give it the motion. So as you can see, as I shift my body around, this thing is going to follow me. So there's a few different uses for an AI module. I actually love using them, and if I give it the little finger, the little OK again, it'll stop following me, which is really nice. So the reason why I actually think these AI gimbals are so great is, as a solo content creator, I'm always looking for ways to step up the different shots that I'm getting for my content. I don't always have someone with me, so being able to mount this on a tripod, place it down somewhere, just give it a quick OK and have it follow me around while I film content on location is great. The other thing that's going to be great, and again, I wouldn't use this lens, maybe a 16 to 35 millimeter, for example, or maybe even a 20 millimeter f1.8 Sony to lighten this entire payload, is for vloggers. I actually think this is great because if you have a lighter lens and a lighter camera, of course, and you want to vlog similar to the way you would do it on like a DJI Osmo Pocket 3 with face tracking, you can do that here. So I can walk around, vlog, and I don't have to worry about the camera staying locked to me because the gimbal is doing all of that work. So all I have to do is hold it out and talk and chat, and I should be getting a perfect shot of my face. With a wider angle lens, you're gonna get a fantastic, intelligent kind of vlogging setup. And again, I think that's probably what I like most about this gimbal setup is this thing is really tiny and it's really light. I actually like this integrated handle as well. It doesn't add a lot of bulk or size to it. I've got other gimbals. I think this might be one of the smallest that can handle a payload like this, especially with that built-in AI chip. But overall, I think the Scorp Mini 2 is a great addition. It's not a very expensive gimbal for all of the features and functionality that you get. Build quality is fine. It's a hard plastic body with rubberized grip and textures. The arms are of course made out of metal to handle the extra payload, but I think that combination of metal and plastic allows this thing to be really quite lightweight. And again, I'm just impressed at how it's handling this payload here. So I'm going to continue to do some more testing, but I think everything else about this gimbal is pretty standard. It does a great job of balancing a heavy camera setup, and balancing itself was very simple calibration, pretty classic if you've ever used a gimbal before. What I will say is what makes it special, this built-in AI module. I like it. It's not bulky, you don't lose it. It's just integrated directly into the unit itself. And then this right here, the briefcase handle that's been integrated into it, is also one of my favorite additions. Doesn't add a lot of bulk or a lot of weight. But again, having used this and other AI-powered gimbals in the past, I really think this integrated version is the future of camera tech. these little gimbals, they're getting smaller, they're getting smarter, they're getting more powerful. This is a great example of what that looks like in 2024. What I'm probably more excited about is what Feiyuh-Tech is going to come out with in the next couple of years. Can you imagine this getting even smaller and these AI modules getting even smarter? Because some of the use cases that I really enjoyed about it is you can actually have your subject give the camera the okay. Lock it on, and all you have to do is make sure you're following smoothly. The camera and the gimbal will kind of handle the rest. With AI autofocus these days and this AI gimbal, creating content has never been easier. And again, I think it's tools like this that encourage more people to get into content creation, to make cooler stuff, because the barrier to entry and the learning curve is just shrinking more and more thanks to companies like Feiyuh-Tech and innovations like AI. All right, and that is just my initial impression of the FeiyuhTech Scorp Mini 2. I'll have some additional videos as I continue to test this, but if you like this video, hit that like button, subscribe for more videos just like this. I will catch y'all in the next one.